Well, ask me a question. Oh. It's not dates or anything, and then
You got to talk
people.
You're talking about
People.
Hang on now.
What?
Oh, it's gone. Yeah, you must start with it, 'cause you
Oh, okay. What Ursula wanted to do was find out a little bit more about the family and try to get what's in your head. And I guess the best way to start it is to talk to you about your family, your mum and your dad, and your grandparents, I guess, in the first instance. And to start off with, I guess, with your mum and find out where your mum was born, when she was born, and tell us a bit about her history. And that's, what was Emily's name?
Emily Graham.
So what was did she have a middle name?
No, she was Emily Graham.
Yes. Where was she born?
She was born in Glasgow, on the banks of Loch Lomond, out of Glasgow.
Balloch,
that's right. Yeah.
when was she born?
Well, she came out here in 1910, and I think she was about 23 then, so work that out.
Yeah.
So why did she come out here?
According to her, when we talked about it, she was working in somewhere in Dundee, which is not far from Ballot, and I don't know much about the person she came with, but she always told us a story, but she sort of, where she was coming to Australia, and so she just put a pin on a map and Perth came up. And that's how she got here. She came out, I think there was another girl came with her, but she never ever discussed it.
Why did she come?
Oh, I think she was just adventurous. She came on a working holiday, I suppose you'd call it, at that age she was. And she arrived, she came from, on the ship, I don't know, it's all in that, in that information down on the wall.
Yeah.
And she was sponsored by a lady that was always in our life, and her name was Miss James, and she never married. And she sponsored Mum, I think.
Yep.
So she went straight to Geraldton.
Where Miss Jones was?
And Miss James had the Australia, the hotel. She was the proprietress. And Mum was kind of a little bit of a snob, but she said it was one of the best hotels in Geraldton at that time.
What was it called?
I'm not sure I can't remember the name of the hotel. But she worked, and Miss Jones must have sponsored her. That's where she met my father.
What was his name?
His name was Charles Allen Hepburn.
Alan, was it?
Charles Allen. That was that. And according to Mum, when Miss James knew that my mother was going to marry Charlie Hepburn, she offered to send us back to Scotland, which I thought was rather awful, but she always said that. And
but Emily, before she came to Australia, I can remember some stories about her mother had passed away.
Well, she was left on her own at 14. Her father was an engine driver, and he used to come from Glasgow to Balloch, which in those days...
Glasgow.
Was she an only child?
No, she had two brothers, Andrew and Thomas. My brother Andrew was named after them. And evidently my grandfather was away days at a time from Glasgow to Balloch then. You know, he can do it in half an hour now, I think, something like that. And her mother was sick. Like mother wasn't, my grandmother was a delicate lady or whatever, and she used to have to. She was looking after her mother at 14, and she was 14. when her mother died. I don't know about her father. I've never heard any much about, but that's what I can remember. That she was left, and she went to live with her brothers and their wives, and their names were Martha. One was Martha and Elizabeth, and that's what I'm named for them. And Andrew and Thomas, that's her brothers. Was Andrew, my brother Andrew.
So hang on a sec. Can we just go back over that? So Emily, her brother and sister, her brothers were Andrew and Thomas.
That's right.
And they married.
Would that be Graham?
Right.
Yeah, Andrew Graham and Thomas Graham, and they married a Martha.
And an Elizabeth.
So they married two women. One of the Eastern brothers married another woman.
I don't know a lot about them, but I know she kept.
And Emily went and lived with them.
That's right. From 14, and she as she put it, she was from pillar to post then. She was more like, but she always spoke very highly. They looked after her. I don't know a lot about that. We discussed that much. You don't.
And did Emily ever talk about her grandparents?
No knowledge at all there about them. But she must have been working around that area. Dundee. And just put a pin on the map. Came to her. But Miss Jones was always a part of our life. At the end of our life, at the end of her life, Miss James had a flat up on the top of Hay Street. And she had she must have had in those days what they call now, and it's shaking.
Yeah.
And we sometimes Mum had to take us, I suppose, with us to visit them. We used to hate it, because she was famous. But I know Mum always visited her, and when she died, she must have had money. And through the grapevine when you're young listening to it, she never left Mum any money. And Mum never got anything out of her death, but Mum never bothered though, because she used to say, well, in time of my life she was so near to me and so good to me that I never expected anything. She was always a backstop, I suppose. And I don't remember her death. I only remember going to visit and thinking, oh God, this is awful, But
you would have only been a little girl.
I was only young. That was Mum's life.
What about Charles? What do you know about your grandfather, about your father?
My grandfather. His
Your father.
Your dad.
Your
My
dad.
dad, his name was Jess. He was a carpenter. And from Geraldton. He was one of 5 brothers, and he had a sister named Vida. I never saw her very much. But my father was the second eldest of the family. My grandfather's name was David. That one's gone.
David Hepburn.
It would have been David Hepburn. I don't know his second name. And then there was Neil Hepburn. That was my uncle Neil. And I think Dad was the next one, Charles. Roy was the youngest. I think the sister was next. And then was Roy Hepburn. And Uncle Colin Hepburn. And Roy.
Did you know these people?
Not a lot. No, not a great deal. Roy was the youngest. And no, I didn't really have much to do with them very much. I used to go a little bit to, when I was young, to Auntie Lil, that's Neil Hepburn's wife. Used to go there quite a bit for a weekend, and like Easter time. And that's how I got the knowledge of the Catholic religion.
She was a Catholic.
She was a Catholic. There's evidently quite a big split in the family over religion. Mum was Protestant and sang in the choir, and of course my father went to that church, and then my grandmother was Catholic. There was a big split there, you know.
Your grandmother Hepburn was Catholic.
Oh yeah.
Grandmother Hepburn.
Yeah, there was like my grandmother was a Catholic and my grandfather was Protestant.
Oh, okay.
And part of the family went with David, with their father, and the other part went with their mother. And then, of course, when they got their girlfriends, my mother sang in the choir, church choir, so therefore my father started going to that church, and because it played a great deal in their life. But Auntie Nance was a Catholic, and I remember as a child I used to go around they lived in Nansford Street in Claremont. They had three daughters, Pam and Anne. I think there was a leader there, elder. And I used to enjoy going there because being with females, and they used to, you know, curl my hair and do stuff. And then Auntie Nance used to take me to church. And she was a great Catholic, and she used to clean the church out on a Saturday. And so I was always with Auntie Nance. And she taught me the Stations of the Cross at Easter time. Stations of the Cross, and I kissed the feet and all this sort of thing. Yeah, and I think I must have gone home and sprouted a bit, and then bang, I was allowed to go back. I never could work it out, you know, religion again. Yeah.
Nick was the first born.
There was a son before, but he died, and then Charles. Nick it was christened Nick, but by
Christened Charles.
It was christened Charles David, I think he was. Because David came through a lot of Charles.
Why did he get called Nick?
My father was a carpenter, and he used to go out on a lot of stations working, and Mum used to go with him. And one of the station owners, a bloke by the name of Logue, owned the sheep station at Mooninooka in Gelton, now the Gelton. And for some unknown reason, Mum went there with Dad. And Dad was working on the station, and Mum was there with Mick. Mr. Logue started to call him Mick, and that's how it stuck.
And he was born in Gelton.
He was born in Gelton. Ronnie and Jack were born in Gelton.
In which order? Ronnie's first?
Ronnie was first. And she must have had 4 years without anybody.
What was Ronnie's full name?
Ronald Graham.
Ronald Graham. And Jack?
I don't remember Jack.
Mrs. Jack?
Just Jack. Must have been more to it. I don't remember, but he was always just Jack. But I knew it was Ronald Graham.
Yeah.
Charles David was me. And then Ronald Graham, and then Jack. And then me.
Where were you born?
I was born in South Fremantle.
Martha Street.
That's right, Martha Street.
Because you're a hospital lady.
Yeah.
Why were you born down here?
Because she was living down there. She had to come away from Mora.
How did Mora come into it?
I don't know. I suppose I was living there. It must have been.
You moved from Geraldton to Mora.
I don't remember being in Geraldton. I don't remember where I was living. I know I was born in South Fremantle in Martha Street.
But Jack, Ronnie and Mick
They were all born in
and
Geraldton.
Emily and Charlie must have been living in Mora.
My father wasn't there. He was away working when Colin. She must have had Colin, or Colin was born in Mora.
No, we're talking about you.
Me, I don't know where I was born. I was born in South Fremantle.
Why were you born in South
I don't know, Colin. I don't know.
And did you go back to Mora to live then?
We went to Mora.
From here, after you were born, you were a baby.
We lived out of Victon, out here at the end of Cornwall Road. About, I must have been about 5 or 6 then. We were living out there.
So you lived from when you were born till you were about 5 or 6 out here in Cornwall Road.
That's right.
And then you went.
Then we went to Mora.
Yeah. Where was? But Andy was next, wasn't he?
Andy must have been born out here.
Down here as well.
Yeah. I know Colin was born. Colin.
So you must have shifted back to Mora.
That's Andy. What was Andy's first full name?
Andrew Thomas. No, I don't know. There's a lot of that. No. But I know when I lived out there,
Yeah.
and I know that we must have moved from there
At Point Walder.
from Mora to Mora. I don't know where Andy was born. Colin might know. But we had to leave Mora because he was sick.
So Colin was born in Mora.
Well, he must have been born in Mora, because I remember him as a baby there.
Yeah.
What's Colin's full name? What's his middle name?
That's Colin. That's Colin, I thought. I'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
I think I've never known him to have a second name. He hasn't. No, he hasn't, because we're laughing at him sometimes about that.
So you came down when Colin was born because he was sick.
Yeah.
And you came down here to get medical treatment for
Yeah.
Colin. Did your father come with you? Or was
No, I don't remember. Quite frankly, I don't remember a lot of my father in my life, except toward the end of his life. I saw more of him. But he must have been around to have 7 kids.
So you came down here and then you lived in South Perth.
We lived in Como, yes. We lived in several houses round in Como.
But your grandfather was there.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
father was there then.
And that's part of my life. That's toward the end of his life, I think.
Well, no, hang on. I mean, so you just lived with Emily and your brothers in South Perth for a long time without your father being there.
Well, I remember him. He was there through the war, of course.
Yeah, but what about
no,
when you were a child? See, we're talking. You were born in 1923. What about when you were a child?
Oh,
Before the war. See, 1939.
Oh, he was all that's right. Yeah, well, I remember him then. He was about then. He was around.
When you were at school.
When I was at school. And I did one week in Mora, and then Mum had to leave with Colin.
You come down here.
And she came down on the train, an overnight train with 5 kids and a sick baby.
Mm.
Yeah.
So when you lived in Como and Charlie was there, was he working?
No, he was an invalid. He didn't work. Actually, through the war, he was,
Before the war?
Oh, well, yeah, but he didn't work. He didn't. I don't remember him packing his lunch and going to work, but, Dad didn't see him.
Even when you went to school, he wasn't going to work?
No, he was there. He was there later on in my life, and as a kid, and we lived in Como and down there.
But he was at home during the war.
Oh, yeah. Always through the war.
So Mick went to war first.
Mick and Ronnie were up in Laverton working on a gold mine up there called the Gladiator. And that's where Ronnie met Ruth. She was a cook in the pub there. And they joined up from there.
Joined the army from Laverton.
Yes, they would have come to Perth to join the army. Yeah.
So Ronnie married Ruth before Mick married...
Oh no, Mick and Lil were married long before them. Through the war, Lil had Barry and Ellis there. And, Ronnie and Ruth never had any children until quite late on in life. I really went and listened.
So I can remember when I was younger that Mick and Uncle Mick, Auntie Bill lived in South Perth.
Gladstone Avenue.
Yeah, I lived in South Perth. That's when I can remember that as a little boy. I would have been only 4 or 5. I remember going up there with you and Dad.
Well, how many kids do they have?
Mick and Neil had 4.
4 then.
Barry was the eldest. No, and Dallas. Barry, Dallas, Lois.
No.
No, Barry and Dallas. And,
Peter.
Peter. And then Lois. That's right. Yeah, Peter's your age.
Yeah, Peter's a bit older than me, yeah.
The birthday last year. Week.
So, and Ronnie and Ruth?
Ronnie and Ruth were married a long time before they had any children. And then they had Stephen.
Johnny drank water then?
And I can remember Ronnie and Ruth living in some accommodation in Scarborough.
Yeah. Yeah, on the dry cleaners.
That's right. That's right. Just up from Luna Park.
Yeah.
And Jack?
Jack had 2 daughters, Gaynor and...
I couldn't think of it the other day. I can remember Gaynor myself. I couldn't remember the other name. And they lived down at Safety Bay, not Safety Bay, Kwinana. And what was Jack?
Judith.
Judith. Gaynor and Judith. And what was Jack's daughter?
Her name was Joan.
Yeah, I remember Joan. I remember them living just down here at Kwinana, up on the side of the hill down
Medina.
Medina, that's right.
Funny how
So Jack, Mick and Ronnie went away during the war.
Yeah.
And Mick, where did Mick go?
Mick was up in Borneo when the war ended.
But that's not where he started, was it? He was in the Middle East, wasn't he?
Oh, Ronnie was in the Middle East. No, Mick never went to the Middle East. But he was up in the islands mostly.
And he was in the army.
Oh, yeah, both in the army. And Ronnie was in the army in Texas. He went to the Middle East.
Yeah. And Jack must have joined.
Jack joined the Navy before the war.
Yes.
And he went to England on a ship called the Epicus to christen the Perth, the original HMAS Perth.
And they picked up the Perth.
That's right. On the Clyde Bank, and it was christened by the Duchess of Kent. Somebody's got those photos somewhere. And they were on a world tour when the war broke out. And the Perth was then, he was at the Battle of Mattapan, and saw a lot of war. And he went down to Caribbean. And he was there for a couple of years before he came home. He came back. He was doing a patrol out Trinidad or somewhere there with the English ships and the Dutch ships, and they were in and out. And then they gave them leave to come home. Jack came back after many years. A couple of years, I know it was a while. The ship, the HMAS Perth, this is the original one, was, they all got leave, all the West Australians got leave, and they carried on for a refit in Sydney, and it was off getting a refit there, and all those guys got leave. And then when it was refit, did whatever they had to do, they put them all back on the crew, came back and picked up the West Australians. Anyway, you've heard this story, haven't you? And Jack was stationed here on the Perth, and they were on parole with a patrol here, out back, and there was a Dutch ship, Tromp, an English Maidstone, and the Perth. They all patrolling in, out, they come in, one would go in and come out, and it was one of those trips that went out, and Jack was, I always was under the impression that we had a broken collarbone, I don't know, but when it went out that time, it got blown up, and that's Jack wasn't on it at that time. and he lost all his mates there. And after that, he was a bad sailor. He was more aquarid and then
Andy married who?
Andy married Pat Brophy. Pat Brophy, yeah.
They had a heap of kids, too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an Anne, there's a Drew there, Jude and a girl, Judith. I think they had about 4. Yeah. I used to go, when I went over to Sydney a couple of times, I visited them, and Andy...
They lived at Ryde, didn't they?
That's right. Yeah. Andy was quite a man, really. I mean, he was too young to start with to join. He was only 17 when he joined the army, and he went straight into battle, straight up there. And Andy was a really sight case, really fought him down. But, oh well, like that, in that era with the sailors, people, they all got cigarettes given to them and grog and that, and I think that's really in the end. It wasn't too bad.
But Andy stayed on in the army after the war, didn't he?
Andy was in Korea.
He stayed on the army.
He got out and he went back in the army and he was in Korea, which was a terrible, terrible war.
But he was living here. I can remember he and Pat lived out near Auntie Amy out in
That's
Morley.
right, yeah. Andy was a smash. Well, he was a thick man. When you look back, it was definitely a sight.
But he stayed in the army.
Stayed in the army, and then he rejoined and went to Korea.
That's right.
And got shot to pieces by
Chinese.
a Chinaman. And he was operated, he was evacuated after he was wounded, and or in his, whatever the mortar shell or whatever it was blew up, and he was operated on a ship, American hospital ship, taking him from Korea, Korea crossing the China Sea to Japan, and they operated on him in a typhoon, and he survived anyway. But it was later on in life they told him he would never have any kids, but I think he had about 6 anyway. That's Andy.
What about Colin? Colin, he was too young.
Too young.
To join the Navy. But he joined the Navy after the war?
Yes. And then he was in Korea.
Well, he was in Japan as well, wasn't he? At the occupational forces.
No, Andy was in the occupational forces in Japan after the war. And then he must have come home and got discharged and rejoined. That's Andy. But Colin was too young, but he joined the Navy. And he was in Korea on a ship called the Bataan. And so he saw some nasty things too.
And you went to school in South Perth, Como. You went to school in South Perth.
I went to Como School.
Como Primary School.
Yep.
What high school?
Princess May. In Perth, James Street. It was called Perth Girls. Perth Girls in James Street. And he stayed about 6 months. Went on to I've lived there for 40 years, so it's more like saying that. But I just stayed at school, but I just quit. It wasn't very nice to me. Because at that time, we were all state, like we were all on state aid, you know, and you had to leave before then. Your money stopped coming. At a certain high school, when I was ready to go to high school, Mr. Clayton, the teacher at high school, sent a letter home to Mum, which I never gave her for about a week because I thought I was in trouble. And he recommended that I stayed at school. And I had to go and see a psychiatrist and a lot of, so that Mum could get the 4 bob still. And where I am, yeah.
The school to stay in school.
And so Mum got, and I had to see this psychiatrist, like a little bloke, her name was Dr. Williams, I suppose his name was, and he was talking to me. This was all to get 4 bob a week. And so he said, who's your best friend? I said, Jimmy Carter, and I hate her. Good start. Anyway, they got me more, she got the extra money and they got the time for me to go to school. And my mum went to the whole house was the whole thing. And Betty, I walked into the classroom and this Cochran was this mate.
He's really rough.
Oh,
He went to
he was younger than me. He was
younger than
he was there longer than me.
Yeah.
That's not that he was kind of proper soldier. He was in the army like 17. He,
no,
yeah, so they were just like consultants.